So he's the one keeping us all together here. So anyway, back to you, Aaron. 2 million views, and we're talking about on that one that's your Video Game Wizard channel?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to get this up a little higher. There we go. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's a Video Game Wizard. I own a video game store over in St. Pete.
Right, and for those of us who are joining maybe somewhere else, you're talking about St. Petersburg, Florida, of course.
Yeah, St. Pete, Florida.
Right. And so you own the video game store there, which is really coincidental. Well, it's not so much coincidental for you and Warren, the producer of the film, but to also have video game stores, kind of how you guys met. But I also had a video game store. So the three of us.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. That's cool.
Right. It was something I had to do, as a child. So obviously, well, as a child, I mean, I didn't do it as a child. What I meant is that as a child, I've always wanted to do that. But your store, you do what, mostly nostalgic stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I do newer stuff too, but it's right now with COVID and everything, it's harder to get the newer gen systems and stuff. Like PS5s are sold out even at like Walmart. I can't really get newer stuff too much, but retro stuff I find on occasion.
California. Is Florida pretty ruthless for stuff like that? Would you say it's as far as nostalgic video games go, because it's a huge industry, everywhere it seems.
Yeah.
In California,
in the area that I'm at, it's hard to get stuff because there's like probably 1,000 people trying to do the same thing. So like you'll show up to a garage sale 5 seconds after somebody else came and scooped everything up.
Right. That's the California way too. Although the guy who buys it in California will just sell it to you right there in the driveway of the yard sale. He doesn't even care if the owner's watching. He'll make $15 on you and drive away. He doesn't even care. So California is about flipping it for sure. So back to your YouTube. Some of the people who want to know, let's talk about some things like for you. How was it that you went about building a following? How was it that you got as an artist yourself, as an actor, YouTube personality, I guess you would say. How do you get your works distributed where somebody who's watching could maybe want to hit 2 million views? How can you, what can you do to help somebody like that?
I mean, I started my channel way back in 2005. Fresh out of high school, I thought that it was going to blow up. I thought all these great things were going to happen. And then I only had like 35 subscribers. It wasn't until a friend of mine, Scott Squatch, is what he calls himself on YouTube. His name's Scott. He goes on tour with Korn, and he also does like Halloween videos and all this other stuff. And he started coming to the flea market that I used to set up, that Wagnall flea market. And he would start filming videos about buying and selling video games. He called it Video Game Sellers. And his channel went from nothing to like 40, 50,000 subscribers. And then I got some of his subscribers that they latched onto my channel. I was making content, and the next thing I know, I had like 70, I think I got 7,100 subs.
Wow. So what you're saying is it's much like the acting business. It's really about who you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you had me at, that guy was on tour with Korn.
Yeah. Sometimes people will think he's actually in the band. He's a stagehand for Monkey. I think he's the drummer. Yeah,
I've seen Korn, and I know they have, names. The characters have names. I guess for me, they're all different names, but that's which is your main forte. So you were planning to film the show, and then you put it on YouTube. What happened with it? Did it just not take off? What ended up going on?
I mean, I did technically 4 seasons of it. There wasn't that many episodes in each season. I think it was like 12 or something like that. But I recently brought it back because I hadn't done it in like 2 or 3 years because I took a little bit of a break. But I'm bringing it back later this year. I'm going to start airing episodes. I got like 4 or 5 already filmed, and a couple of them are edited together already. So that's kind of exciting. But I don't know if anything's going to happen on the back end of it, but who knows? Maybe I could show it to somebody one day, and it might actually go somewhere.
Right. I mean, you never know, especially, with coffee breaks, the talk of, that getting, picked up for much larger distribution. Anything could happen on the back end as far as, projects that are going on and, those kind of things. So in Florida, did you have any, alligators on your show? Like, is that
No, but I have an aunt that lives down in Miami, and every time we go to visit her, there's like a long stretch of like 100-mile road called Alligator Alley, and they had to put like fences on both sides. Otherwise, you'd be trying to drive down the street, and there'd be an alligator crossing the road.
Right.
Because they're pretty much everywhere.
So they couldn't just move the signs, tell the alligators to go down a different part of the road?
No.
Very cool. So I saw that the writer is here, and what a fantastic script it is. I want to give a shout out to Tracy Simpson, who is the writer, a wonderful talent. Again, we were just talking about the script and how great it is and how long it is, which is a great thing. It's like thing you'd like to do as far as piano and film, or like some kind of crossover. Like, is that something you think about?
Maybe the farthest I've ever gotten with my piano work was I got a gig a long time ago. This was like, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but we went to, they were doing like some gala event where the meals were like $2,000 a person. It was like all the rich people from like a couple counties north. And I got to play piano while some girl was singing in front of one of the Florida senators. So that was kind of cool. We got to go for free. I got paid like a couple $100 or something. I forget what it was, but that was pretty cool.
But some girl was singing.
Yeah, I don't remember her name. I forget what her name was.
So
like this was back when I was in college. So this would have been like 05 to 08, somewhere in that range.
So 05 was like a big deal time period for you. That's when your channel started, and that's when you were, around college. And so that was really when you launched a lot of stuff. So one of the things you had mentioned is that you started your channel in 05. And so clearly you've noticed that it takes a long time to get somewhere, especially in this business. I mean, it's not like an overnight thing. Yeah. I know Warren was telling me he's been at it for, a long time. I don't want to call Warren out, but he's been at it. Some of the comments we're getting on this are cracking me up.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh God!
Somebody just asked if I raise these goldfish for food because they're so big. No, but here's a fun fact, and I'll derail the conversation briefly. These goldfish are carnival goldfish that my children won throwing ping pong balls into little bowls. I'm sure they have those by you, Aaron. The carnivals where the little bowls and the little colored dye, and you throw them in, you win a goldfish, right? So my kids won these two, and then that little whitefish you're seeing right there. Well, we're raising him for food. No, I'm kidding. He was given to us by a neighbor, and actually there were 3 of those, and 2 of them croaked, and that guy made it. So that's all they do is get bigger. And in fact, my cat turned 19 years old today.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're raising animals here to live.
How many years is that in cat years?
Something like 7 billion.
Wow. Yeah, because me and my wife's dog's like 10, 11 years old, and I know that's like 70, 80 something years in dog years.
Yeah, yesterday I saw this thing about 420, and it said when Snoop Dogg is 60 years old, he'll be 420 in dog years. So so I'm guessing the cat is somewhere around that. I was actually hoping.
They were saying that Dogecoin was going to skyrocket yesterday. I have like 10,000 coins. I got them like when they were dirt cheap.
Yeah. So so cryptocurrency, that's something you're into, or just Dogecoin?
I mean, I've been using Robinhood a lot, trying to save up some money.
Right. So recently, were you part of the GameStop? You're a gamer guy. You obviously, you must have been like, oh my God, I've made it during that whole GameStop thing, right? Like, I finally can retire and just play Nintendo and Atari the rest of my life.
Actually, it was the exact opposite. I actually lost a shot at $45,000 because I bought about 100 shares of GameStop a couple years ago when they were $2 to $3 a share. but they were closing all their stores and going out of business. And all my friends were like, you need to sell all your shares. You know, GameStop's going out of business. And I did sell them for a profit, but I sold them between like $6 and $7 a share. And then a few months later, they went to like $4.50.
Well, thank God that didn't happen with my Blockbuster stock. Whew. So,
hey, there's still one location left in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah. So, you know, I lived in Bend. I lived in Redmond, half hour from Bend. And I lived there for years and years, right? And over a decade, that's where my children are born. Like, I almost say, you know, quarter of my life I lived in Oregon. And everybody is like, oh my God, this Bend store, like it's some, you know, it's an amazing thing. Like, I have to go there. I have to see it. And no, it's not. Dude, it's like this junky. The only reason it's still there is because they literally had nowhere else to go with it. Like they were just like, it's close or don't. And they hung on like tooth and nail. It's not this like amazing, triumphant place. It smells like, well, maybe they fixed it. You know what? It's wonderful. If anybody wants to go there, you know, let's just say it's movies make things more exciting than they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a movie that I saw it because people have been telling me you got to see this the last Blockbuster, and I'm assuming you're talking about you saw the film, right?
Yeah, I saw the movie on Netflix. Yeah,
right. I mean, you're going to get Brian Posehn to come in and reminisce about a VHS tape, dude. Brian Posehn talks about anything. You're going to be. I'll listen.
Exactly.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is they're reminiscing this Blockbuster. I assure you, man, it's a janky old video store. Like,
and it's actually funny because when I opened my game store the same month that Blockbuster shut all their stores down. The Blockbuster that I bought all their shelving units from closed October of 2013, and my store opened Black Friday of 2013. So November, the very next month, I opened and I bought all their so I got all their shelving units to store the games on and stuff like that.
So what you're saying is you put Blockbuster out of business. That's what I heard.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the movie should
I've
have been
also
about
bought
you.
out a few GameStops too.
Yeah. Yeah. So at my video game store, one of the other local store ended up going out of business, and I didn't put them out of business or anything, although I took a fair market share. But you know, they went out of business on their own. And then GameStop popped up in our town, and everybody acted like it was this like great messiah. And, you know, and all they would, right. Yeah, you're right. And all they would do is come to me and go, oh, GameStop offered me nothing. I'm like, yeah, you should have come here first. Like, you know, and it was like, so, but still like convincing people of the mindset that, you know, shopping independent is, you know, safer, better, whatever you want to call it, versus, you know, GameStop that, sure, okay. I guess if you have to have the newest, hottest title, then you have to go get extorted by GameStop. I guess, right? So if extortion is your game, I feel you.
I saw a guy trade in a stack of like 40 Xbox One games one time for one.
Right. Yeah. You know, and I'm not feeling that. You know, for me, I never did people like that. I never would. I didn't want to be, you know, taken like that myself. Let's talk about movies that way, right? So, when we're talking about a movie that's a large movie, you know, everybody on the planet right now wants to talk about, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier or Mortal Kombat, you know, but often
King Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, King Kong versus Godzilla, exactly.
Yeah.
Which don't get me wrong, I see all those things, you know, but you don't see me pumping those things on my page. You know, I never go on there and go, oh my God, King Kong Godzilla was the best thing. You know, even though, yeah, I watch that stuff. You see me promoting independent stuff, you know, to keep it, you know, and that what we're doing here. I mean, this movie is a Hollywood, you know, potential, you know, huge, big, but as far as we're concerned, it's independent level, you know. So what do you find as far as, you know, the biggest movies versus, you know, supporting independent and balancing it? You know, again, I try not to shop at Walmart.
Right.
You know, but what am I, you know, you have to balance it. At some point you have to go to Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart makes it difficult because they have everything you can get other places, but cheaper. So that's what put Kmart out of business. There was a Kmart in my town that just closed down last year. They were hanging on by a thread for like 30 years, and then finally they just decided to close. But Sears and Kmart used to be bigger than Walmart, but Walmart put everybody out because they were just cheaper on everything.
So at one point, Kmart was considered the cheapest, but then they got saddled with being like cheap in a bad way. Like, oh, are you
Right.
wearing Kmart? Oh, is that the blue light special? Like it was almost like
Yeah, exactly.
right. You remember that? So how
People
come?
would make fun of people for buying their clothes.
So how come that didn't happen to Walmart?
I don't know. Walmart somehow came off as like, I don't know if you ever remember watching Happy Days. It came off as like Fonzie. You know, everybody thought it was cool to shop at Walmart for a little bit. And then over time they just slowly started sucking up all the other companies.
So you okay? So you think it was part of like the like you think when Walmart came out, it looked cool to go there?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Some people might have thought it was, because I remember right before Kmart went out of business by me, they started to stop selling video games. And I remember that a video game at Walmart would be, let's say it was $59.99 or $49, whatever the brand new price was. The same game at Kmart would be $5 more. It would
right.
be like $64.99 or 50, and just that $5 was just enough to get people to be like, no, I can get it cheaper at Walmart. Why pay the extra $5?
Right. So, but they didn't. Uh, they didn't get saddled with that same stigma. The same stigma of being associated with like oh, you shop at Walmart, you're considered like thoughtful, but versus like you shop at Kmart, you're considered cheap. Like you know what I
Yeah.
so what happened there? I mean, you know.
I have no idea.
Right. And at what point did Walmart jump the shark? Like was it when they added McDonald's, or was it when people at Walmart.com came out? Like at what point did
I mean,
Walmart
I remember when Walmart first came in my area, there was a regular Walmart, but then out of nowhere they added something called a super Walmart. And that's where you could go to, like, they had like food inside, like a Subway or a McDonald's or something. You can get your hair cut, you can get your car work done. I guess they just made it to where no matter what you were looking for, you can get it done there. I think that's what they were trying to do.
I remember
But
that. Right.
at the same time, when they do that, they tend to put smaller businesses out of business doing that.
So right, when they added the eyeglass center, when they added the banks, when they added all that stuff to make it more like, when it became super Walmart, really they just put a cape on a regular Walmart. Is that when it became super?
Essentially, yeah.
So you are playing a techie in the film, Coffee Breaks. I want to give a shout to the writer again, Tracy Simpson, and to director Matt Sly, and to Warren Madden for producing or putting this all together, whatever Warren's job is. But tell us, you're playing a techie and a coworker of mine. What do you think about it, and how does that relate to your real life?
I mean, I haven't read like the entire script, but I mean, so far from what I've read, Brad's like the friend that's supposed to help, in certain situations. And that in real life, I relate to that a little bit, because you could ask any of the friends that hang out with me if they're like, oh, hey, I need you to go do this for me or help me with something. I'll usually try and help them if and when I can. Unless like I'm stuck at the store or working or whatever. But for the most part, so the character fits. And another thing I noted, one of the lines, I'm playing chess against the other guy, and it's funny because I'm actually really good at chess in real life. So it's like it was wrote just for me specifically.
Yeah. So that's I was going to ask you. The other guy is me, by the way, and
Yeah.
and I was going to ask you. You play chess in real life, then?
Yes.
And
I mean, I don't play like professionally, but I used to play a lot when I was in school, and I got pretty good at it.
right. And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that you go on to beat me. in the movie.
That's why I thought I was reading that, and in my head, like, oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah, so because the truth is you likely would beat me. I know how to play though. I do play chess, and
Yeah.
I've played. I'm not like a player. I used to know this guy who traveled with a business card, and it was like, yo, if you want to play chess, we will do it right here, right now. Like, like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like that serious.
Yeah.
But
Right.
in high school, there was a kid at my high school who was the second best in the entire state at speed chess, and every time we would play with that clock, he beat me. But anytime we would slow down and I'd actually get to think about my moves, I would actually
sort of do whatever we want. But when you have a brick and mortar or some kind of inventory, you're really tied down to it. And I felt that myself too, which is why I ended up, closing my stores. Because I just couldn't, it wasn't making me happy anymore. As much as I loved it and, and all that. And it actually, when I closed, I sort of like moved away from the whole video game thing and distanced, myself from all of that, just because I was like, I don't know, almost grieving, moving on. I'm not sure, what you would call it when you close one career of your life and then move on to something else, say acting, which is what I did, which is what you're talking about. It's scary, and Warren's talking about moving to Colorado because of the studio to make the films that we're talking about. Has he talked to you about the project with that character that we don't want to say any names, but that one guy who's an alien who lives here now? Do you know about that project?
does this guy happen to move really fast?
He can move really fast. Yeah, he does that.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you're involved in that project.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping that one goes down too as well.
Right, and so I think that's again Matt Sly, director of Coffee Breaks, is on that project, and that kind of stuff. So tell us. We went back. Let's go back to your music. We didn't mention it, but I want to mention it. You auditioned for America's Got Talent.
Yeah, America's Got Talent is weird. I auditioned the first 10 years. I auditioned almost every year. You either have to be Mozart or you have to suck really bad to get on TV. I found out. Well, no, they'll intentionally let somebody through that sucks really, really bad. A couple times I thought about singing one of my original songs that is just really horrible, but it's one that's got the most views. I got a video on my YouTube channel called Be True to Yourself. And I'm actually trying to sing like a pop type song, and I sound like a cat getting ran over by a car, but somehow it's got 60,000 views and all the likes in the world. I don't know how that happened.
That's remarkable, right? So you either have to be awful or you have to be unreal.
Right. And every time I'd go in, they say, okay, well, we'll call you, which is code word for we're not going to call you, just go home, But there was one time when I was in there, instead of them telling me that they would call me, they had me sit in a chair right by the door. And they're like, hold on a second, we need to discuss something. And I'm like, oh, God, this might have actually went good. And then 10 minutes later, the guy walked out. I was like, okay, never mind, we'll call you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they were actually discussing it for a second, whether to put me through. Because I physically saw people that after they were in the first audition room, sometimes they'd get sent to a second audition room. And if you're sent to the second audition room, that's the room where you actually have a chance to get on television. Everybody sees you go in front of Simon and the judges on X Factor, American Idol, and all that stuff. But there's actually a round before that where you go in front of the producers and audition before you even get to see the judges. I went to one in Miami. Me and my mom, my brother actually got to meet Sharon Osbourne, David Hasselhoff, and Piers Morgan because we went to a live taping, and they all pulled up in their cars. They shook everybody's hand, they walked in, and they started watching some of the acts.
So there's a prejudging panel by the people with the money before you get to the right. And,
yes.
Okay.
You go in front of the producers first, and then if they like you, then they send you through to the actual judges.
And how long did you wait in line to get to the money panel? We're going to call it the money panel.
I mean, it could take an hour. It could take 3 hours. You know, when you show up to these things, there's like people packed in the entire building. There's like jugglers, musicians, like anything under the rainbow. Because on American Idol, it's not just about singers. It's about, or on America's Got Talent, it's not just about singers. It's about everybody. So you know, there could be an 8-foot guy on stilts in there or something. You know, right next to a clown. You don't know what you're going to see when you go to these things.
So, what is the craziest thing you saw personally? Like, what was something you saw and thought, dude, what am I even looking at?
Well, one of the people that they actually sent through, and I ended up knowing they sent this person through because they were on TV. One of the seasons, it was a bigger lady. She was all dressed up in this weird getup. Her voice was not good at all, but she was like when she walked in the room, it was like a presence, you know, like she just had a personality, and they put her through. I'm assuming based on that, they didn't care that she wasn't that good. They wanted her for ratings, you know,
Right.
and I think that's why they put her. You know, she had a loud voice. You know, it wasn't necessarily a good voice, but it was something that they knew that people on TV, they were going to be putting up like X's or something, you know.
So, right, exactly. So, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that it's a business. You know, right. So, they what they have to sell is ratings. So, they want that factor that makes, you know, the parts where I watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, those things like you said, but personality is a huge thing on that show. You know.
Yeah.
So you went on and you auditioned for the money panel, almost got through. What do you think was the most impressive act you saw? Not necessarily the craziest thing, but what's the most, when you saw something you were like, no wonder they got through?
Yeah, well, there was a guy in front of me that auditioned, and he had a similar look to a Pavarotti, and he was doing like opera, and he sounded amazing. I don't know if he got through. I never saw him on actual television, but he sounded amazing. And then another guy that I met at one of the auditions was, remember American Idol had the guy that did the Pants on the Ground song?
Yeah, oh my, of course, absolutely.
I saw him in person. I saw him in person at one of the America's Got Talent auditions. So apparently, some people make a career out of just going to as many auditions as possible and trying to get on. There was a guy, Piers Morgan hated him. His name was Leonid the Magnificent. He was on like seasons 1, 4, 5, 7, and he would come back every couple of years to try and get through. And he would make it to the television rounds, and he would get through, but sometimes he wouldn't always make it past that first round of the live shows. And so he'd keep coming back, and he's like, oh, not him again, because he just knew he wasn't going to win, and he thought he was just, you know, just trying to milk them for camera time.
Well, yeah, you know, I've watched America's Got Talent, and there are people on there milking for camera time. But, you know, at what point, as an artist, as an entertainer, you know, is it okay to milk for camera time? Is it always okay? Like, what's your thought on that? The camera milkers.
I mean, I really don't know. I don't have enough experience to be able to give a legit politically correct answer on that. But I mean, if you're trying to become an actor, you want all the camera time you can get. So you'll do whatever, I guess, at some point. But
okay, right. So I was having a conversation with this earlier this week, and the conversation came up of, is there anything on film? Let's say that someone could propose to you as a, like, you know, we want you, we're going to shoot this ocean movie, and there's a scene where you're in a cage with sharks. You know, I mean, you're not in the cage with the sharks, but you're in a cage, and there's big, you know, great whites around you. But don't worry, you're safe. We have pro divers there. Like, I still don't think I could get in the water. Like, you know what I mean? So is there any scenes you come up with, like?
I would tell them that we're doing a green screen for that shot.
Right.
Or get like a stunt double.
So,
because my wife actually likes watching Shark Week, and I think they put Shaquille O'Neal went underwater, and he was in the cage with the sharks on one of the episodes.
that's fair, because he's like big enough to fight one of them. I don't.
Yeah,
think,
he's got a shot. He's got a chance.
Right. He's like a superhero. He could fight a shark. In fact, there's the next movie, Shaq Shark. the fight. Shaq v. Shark.
Yeah. One of the movies I used to watch as a child was Kazam, actually, coincidentally.
You know,
I don't know if you ever saw one.
I didn't see Kazam. I saw Steel, which, do you remember when he was, Shaq played the superhero Superman Steel? A lot of people don't know he was that character.
I vaguely remember that. I don't know if I mean, that was a long time ago, so I don't remember if I watched the whole thing or not, but I remember what you're talking about.
Right, but Kazam was like his biggest movie. He was a genie.
Yeah.
I didn't see
And
that.
he actually made a rap album, I think, called Shaq Fu or something like that back in the day.
Shaq Fu, because for a little bit he was a member of the Fushnikins when they were doing they had that big song, La Shmove. And
the reason I know about that is because on Scott's channel, he was notorious for breaking copies of Shaq Fu on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. He would autograph them and whatnot because that's commonly known as one of the worst games ever. You know, I recently just beat the one that came out on the PS4, and then Shaq's like, Shaq Fu. This time we didn't foo it up. A Legend Reborn, or so. I forget what the name of the new one was, but.
And you liked the second game of Shaq?
Yeah. I mean, the first one was essentially kind of like a Mortal Kombat, one person versus the other one, but it wasn't done very well. The new one, obviously, they weren't going to make something like Red Dead Redemption 2 out of a Shaq Fu game, but it was definitely better than the first one.
And you're willing to admit that in public on tape that you liked a Shaq video game?
I mean, kind of, a little bit. I'll give it like a 6.
Right. As an actor, you have to be willing to embarrass yourself, so you just might as well say you love the Shaq game. So,
yeah.
Did you ever play the Jaws game where you have to go and eat people on Xbox?
On the NES? Oh, on Xbox?
Yeah.
I don't know if I played that one specifically. I probably played the NES copy of Jaws.
The NES one was a little different, yeah.
Yeah.
So
mostly what I had growing up was Nintendo, Super Nintendo, 64. And it's funny because Nintendo came out in 85, and I wasn't born until 87, but we could never afford the newest system. So in the early 90s, when Super Nintendo was the newest system, I got a Nintendo because it was cheaper. And then when the 64, I got the I was always like a console behind.
That's always been my thing too, console behind, because I never was willing to spend that kind of money. Even now, I just got a PS4 instead of the PS5 because, I called Sony and I said, "Is it really worth it?" And the guy said, "No." He said, "Buy the old one, man."
There's like 10 games for PS5.
Right.
10 or I don't even know how many there are, but there's like thousands for the PS4 by now.
Exactly. So why? Yeah. And for me, it's it's the newest upgrade. It's great. I love it. So let's go back to
went through the roof when Toys R Us went out of business. So I didn't want to spend all that money, and finally I just decided to sell it all. I'm like, I got a game store, and I'm like hoarding the best stuff for myself. You're not supposed to get high in your own supply, if you will, I guess.
Right. So, Tracy, no one remembers Zork. I never heard of Zork. But, that's one of the things about being self-employed and having a collection is that you some days have to eat. So some of the good things come out of your collection to fund some other things you want to do, like eating, which is always a big deal. We don't have a whole lot of time left, so let's go back to the film. Again, written by Tracy Simpson, directed by Matt Sly, and you play Brad, computer tech, who works with me, Michael, chess player, probably avid video gamer. Clearly, you know computers. Do you know computers in real life? I mean, video games, those kind of things.
I mean, I know a little bit about computers. I mean, I probably couldn't code a computer. I took beginner computer coding in college, but I didn't really go anywhere with it. Yeah, that was just an elective that I had picked just to fill up my my credits and stuff like that. But no, I know my way around a computer. Like, I'm really good with Mac. That's what actually got me into this whole industry. When I was in high school, I took TV production because I needed another elective, and I was the anchor for my high school news program every week for like 2 years. That's when I'm like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind being in front of the camera. It felt comfortable and natural. So that's when I started going to the local college, SBC, and I was taking like all the video editing classes, and all that kind of stuff.
That's really cool. So the high school, your interaction in high school is really what spawned you into getting into doing it like for real.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah. Because
passion.
at the school I was at, they had Apple Mac computers, and up until then, I'd been using Windows. And when I tried to use the first editing software I tried to use was Windows Movie Maker, and the second I used it, it was like probably the worst one I've ever used. So now I use Final Cut and the Mac and all that stuff, and it's so much easier.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the editing software. So we're getting a few questions too. So the movie is Coffee Breaks, and it hasn't started filming yet. We're looking to film hopefully sooner than later, but possibly, within the year. And we are still in casting phase, and we are talking with Aaron Kosharsky, who has a YouTube channel called Video Game Wizard. That's right? That's the name of your channel?
Well, the official name of the channel is Aaron Kosharsky, my name, but if you type in Video Game Wizard, it'll pop up.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
that's where
yeah,
people can
that's
find you. Very
yeah,
good.
that's it. So,
And if they want to follow you, is that the best place to do it, on YouTube, or do you have another place?
I mean, yeah, you could follow me on YouTube. I have an Instagram. I have a Twitter. I have all that stuff. But I mean, YouTube is the preferred method of, go comment on a video or like or subscribe or whatever.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Likes and videos and comments on videos really do help us as actors to keep our stuff, our work at the forefront. Really helps us to boost our rankings. A lot of people don't know that it helps us when they interact on our posts or on our videos, that it helps boost us which hopefully leads, to our career getting more seen and taken off, in a good direction.
Exactly. Yeah. Question: would you mind if I posted this on my YouTube?
Oh no, of course. That's what it's
Okay.
for. Yeah.
Okay.
You should. We talk a lot about video games. So yeah, no, that's what this is all about, is good-natured promotion, getting to know the actors, and from the film, and directed by Matt Sly, written by Tracy Simpson. Coffee Breaks, and we got a lot of good people coming on to it. We've got John Lair, who, as you know, Aaron, I'm sure, he's the Geico Caveman, most known.
Yeah, yeah, that's what everyone was telling me. I'm a little excited about that.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody wants to meet him. It's pretty good. I'm gonna hopefully be doing this with him pretty soon. His schedule, obviously, he's a very desirable guy.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be getting him on soon. I think we're talking about Liz Fletcher just got cast as Alicia, in the script, and I think she's going to be on next week. So we got a lot of really big things coming up. No, it won't be filmed in Florida, actually. We just got that question. We're filming this in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's where the director and the equipment are. But we're bringing talent in from all over the place. Obviously, I'm from California. Aaron is from Florida. So, it's whoever is right for the role is what we're doing. And there's people from Los Angeles, big Hollywood names coming on. And so lots of stuff, lots of good pitching. Aaron, give us a couple more minutes. Give a promo for yourself, we pretty much talked about anything we didn't talk about you'd like to wrap up on.
I mean, I guess if you're ever in the St. Pete area, come check out my store, 5314 Seminole Boulevard. That's the address. Check out my YouTube channel, Aaron Kosharsky, the Video Game Wizard. Actually, did I tell you where I got that name from?
No, tell us.
By the way,
Tell us, yeah.
did you ever see? I used to watch Wonder Years growing up, and Fred Savage was in a movie called The Wizard.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. That's where I got the name from.
Wow.
Because he was competing in a Nintendo tournament, or his younger brother was,
Yeah.
which was in California,
Yeah. I used to
But
have a poster for it.
I love that movie growing up because I'm a huge fan of Mario, and the whole thing was like a giant Mario 3 commercial, so it worked out perfectly. And then when I went to open my store, I'm like, you know what? I like that name, The Wizard. I'm just going to call it Video Game Wizard. You know.
There you go. That's perfect. My store was called The Hive because of Resident Evil.
Ah,
The virus goes loose in the hive, and so that's why.
yeah.
And also, we felt it was like a central location for everybody to hang out. So what is the name of your store? You Video Game Wizard is the name of your actual store,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just the name of
yeah,
your. Okay.
Video Game Wizard. Yeah, that's the name of the store. I had a guy that was doing a lot of my graphic work a while ago, and he made me make it to where my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, all my stuff like matched. You know, so he said just put these logos, you know, and now everything's pretty much all synced up.
Right.
Because before it was just like it was a hodgepodge. Everything was like all over the place. He was trying to just, tighten things up a little bit.
Yeah, branding is definitely a big part. That repetition. Like saying the name of the film, Coffee Breaks. Hopefully.
Yeah, coffee breaks.
Yeah, Coffee Breaks. Hopefully that'll pay off. So, Aaron, it's been a pleasure having you. I'm glad I got to do this with you, to talk to you today.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun today.
And you're in Florida. Your weather is good. You're going. Is it always?
Yeah, it's weird because in the winter, the rest of the country's like in the 20s or teens, and we're in like the 60s and 70s. But then during the summer, it's like 90 degrees here, and it's really hot and sweaty. And
yeah, there you go. We're gonna end. We're gonna end on that note.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Hey, everybody, check out the film Coffee Breaks. See Aaron as Brad, and see me as Michael. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for being here.